Imagine this, you're walking through your day, moving from one task to the next, when suddenly someone says something that gets under your skin. The first impulse is to react, to be angry, to feel frustrated. But what if I told you that the secret to living a peaceful, fulfilled life is not in how others treat you, but how you choose to respond? The truth is, anger and frustration are not reactions to what others do, they are choices we make. So, how do we stop those emotions from controlling us? Well, today I want to explore the mindset that allows us to let go of anger, stay grounded, and truly control our peace, no matter what life throws at us. We often believe that our emotions are driven by the actions of others. When someone cuts us off in traffic, makes a rude comment, or disrespects us in some way, it's easy to feel justified in getting angry. But the truth is, the way we respond to those actions is entirely within our control. We have the power to choose how we react, and that choice is what ultimately defines our experience. When we realize that we are not at the mercy of other people's behavior, we take back the power. Instead of being a victim of circumstances, we become the master of our response. This shift is liberating because it means that no matter what happens outside of us, we don't have to lose our peace. Think about it, when someone is rude to you, your immediate reaction may be to fire back or to feel hurt. But those reactions come from within, not from the other person's actions. When we allow their behavior to dictate how we feel, we give away our power. However, if we take a moment to pause, reflect, and then respond from a place of calm, we take that power back. The key to mastering this is recognizing that your emotional state is not dependent on external circumstances. Instead, it's driven by how you interpret those circumstances and how you choose to respond. That moment between stimulus and response is where your freedom lies. If you can learn to control your reaction in that moment, you can navigate even the most challenging situations with grace and composure. This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending things don't bother you. It's about choosing a response that aligns with your values and your peace of mind, regardless of what others may do. Understanding that anger is a choice, not a reflex, is one of the most powerful realizations you can have in life. It challenges the idea that emotions are automatic responses to external events. We've all been there. Something happens, and anger bubbles up, seemingly without our control. But what if we took a step back and examined that feeling more closely? What if we realized that, in that very moment, we have a choice? Anger often feels instinctive, like it's built into our nature. But in reality, it's a learned reaction, influenced by past experiences, expectations, and beliefs. When something triggers us, we can either choose to feel angry or take a different path. The key is understanding that this choice exists. In many cases, we react because we've been conditioned to do so. We're taught that when someone wrongs us, anger is the proper response. But once we shift our mindset and see anger as a choice, we can start to pause before reacting. Instead of allowing anger to take over, we can take a deep breath, acknowledge the emotion, and decide how we want to respond. This shift doesn't mean you won't feel anger. It's a natural emotion, and there's no need to suppress it. What's important is recognizing that anger doesn't need to control you. You can allow the feeling to exist, process it, and then choose how to act. This is where the power lies. By realizing that anger is a choice, you empower yourself to decide how you want to move forward without letting it dictate your actions or define your state of mind. Focusing on your values instead of external circumstances is a powerful way to maintain your peace in the face of challenges. Life is full of situations that can unsettle us. Someone's words, an unexpected setback, or even a simple misunderstanding. These external events are outside of our control, but our values are something we can always rely on. When we stay rooted in our values, we create a solid foundation that can withstand any storm. Your values represent who you are at your core. They reflect what matters most to you and guide your decisions. If you align your responses to those values, you become less affected by the unpredictable nature of external events. For example, if you value patience, then when someone cuts in line or interrupts you, you can hold onto that value instead of reacting with frustration. By choosing to respond in a way that reflects your principles, you not only maintain your peace, but also create a stronger sense of self. When you focus on your values, it becomes easier to let go of the things that don't align with them. You start to prioritize your inner peace over external validation or approval. If you find yourself caught up in anger or frustration, ask yourself, is this reaction in line with who I want to be? More often than not, the answer will be no. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to maintain your calm in any situation. Your values act as a compass, helping you navigate through life's challenges without losing sight of what truly matters. They provide clarity in moments of uncertainty and allow you to respond with intention, not emotion. Pausing before reacting is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to maintain control over your emotions. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel pressured to respond immediately, especially when something triggers us. But in those moments, taking a brief pause can make all the difference. When we don't pause, our initial reaction is often based on instinct or emotion, which can lead to regrettable actions. This knee-jerk response is driven by the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, particularly fear and anger. When we react impulsively, we're allowing this emotional part of the brain to take over. However, when we pause, we give ourselves a moment to engage the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, decision-making, and controlling impulses. This brief pause creates the space we need to think, to reflect on our values, and to choose how we want to respond rather than reacting in anger or frustration. It doesn't need to be a long pause, just a few seconds to take a deep breath, collect your thoughts, and create distance between the trigger and your response. This moment of pause allows you to step back from the situation, view it more objectively, and respond in a way that aligns with your values and your peace of mind. The more you practice pausing, the easier it becomes to shift your reactions. Over time, this small act of pausing can completely transform how you respond to challenges, helping you stay grounded and in control no matter what happens around you. Shifting your perspective and seeing situations from others' shoes is a powerful tool in managing your emotional responses. When we encounter difficult or frustrating people, our natural tendency is to focus on their actions and how those actions affect us. But what if we stopped seeing them as obstacles to our peace and started viewing them as individuals with their own struggles, fears, and experiences? People's behavior is often a reflection of their own circumstances, not necessarily a direct attack on us. When we understand this, we can begin to view their actions with empathy instead of judgment. For instance, if someone is rude or dismissive, instead of assuming it's personal, try to consider what might be going on in their life. Are they stressed? Are they dealing with something difficult? This shift in perspective allows us to respond from a place of understanding rather than anger. When we see the situation from another person's viewpoint, we begin to break the cycle of defensiveness and frustration. We realize that their actions may have nothing to do with us and everything to do with their own internal struggles. This perspective shift can completely change how we react. Instead of taking things personally, we can respond with patience, kindness, or even compassion. By practicing empathy and considering others' circumstances, we not only prevent ourselves from getting caught in negative emotions, but also create the opportunity for better communication and connection. When you respond to others with empathy, you disarm tension and create space for understanding, which leads to more peaceful and productive interactions. Not taking things personally is a crucial step in maintaining emotional balance. It's easy to assume that when someone says something hurtful or behaves in a way that frustrates us, it's an attack on our character or a reflection of our worth. However, the reality is that people's actions are often more about their own struggles, insecurities, and state of mind than about us. When we take things personally, we give away our peace. We allow someone else's behavior or words to define how we feel, and in doing so, we lose control over our emotional state. By shifting the mindset that not everything is about us, we reclaim that control. This doesn't mean that we should ignore or accept poor behavior, but rather that we can respond to it without internalizing it. When you choose not to take things personally, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional turmoil. If someone is rude or dismissive, it's not a reflection of your value. It's more likely a reflection of their own mood, personal issues, or limited perspective. The moment you realize that their actions are not a personal attack, it becomes easier to stay grounded and unbothered. This mindset shift allows you to protect your emotional well-being and prevents others from having the power to upset you. It's about understanding that you are not responsible for how others act, and their behavior does not determine your self-worth. By letting go of the need to take things personally, you create space for a healthier, more peaceful way of interacting with the world around you. Practicing self-awareness is a key part of controlling your emotional responses. It allows you to recognize when something is triggering you before you react impulsively. Self-awareness is about understanding your emotions, identifying your triggers, and recognizing patterns in your behavior. It's about being conscious of how certain situations or people make you feel and taking the time to explore why. When you are self-aware, you begin to notice the subtle signs that anger or frustration is building up. This could be a tightening in your chest, a rising sense of irritation, or a sudden urge to react. By noticing these early warning signs, you create an opportunity to step back and assess the situation before allowing your emotions to take over. Self-awareness also helps you understand the deeper reasons behind your reactions. Often we get angry or upset, not because of what someone else does, but because of unresolved issues, unmet needs, or personal insecurities. By being aware of these underlying causes, you can address them directly instead of projecting them onto others. The more you practice self-awareness, the better you become at recognizing when your emotions are starting to escalate. This allows you to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting automatically. Over time, this habit of self-reflection helps you develop greater emotional intelligence, making it easier to stay calm and composed in challenging situations. It's a powerful tool for maintaining your peace and responding to the world with clarity and intention. Developing empathy is a key strategy for responding with understanding instead of judgment. When we practice empathy, we step outside of our own perspective and try to understand the feelings, thoughts, and motivations of others. This allows us to connect on a deeper level and respond in a way that is thoughtful and compassionate rather than reactive. Empathy requires us to recognize that everyone has their own struggles, fears, and challenges that influence their behavior. When someone is rude, dismissive, or unkind, it's easy to assume that they are attacking us or being malicious. However, empathy encourages us to consider that their actions may be a result of something entirely unrelated to us. Perhaps they are going through a tough time, dealing with stress, or simply expressing frustration in a way that's not directed at us personally. By putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, we can gain a better understanding of their actions and make it easier to respond with patience or compassion. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, empathy allows us to recognize the humanity in the other person and respond from a place of care rather than judgment. Empathy not only helps us manage our own emotions, but it also fosters stronger, more positive relationships. When we respond with understanding, we break down barriers and create space for meaningful communication. Over time, practicing empathy makes it easier to stay calm and balanced, even in situations where others may be upset or acting out. It empowers us to respond with kindness, even when it's difficult, and builds the emotional resilience necessary to navigate life's challenges with grace. Creating space for forgiveness is an essential practice for maintaining emotional peace and avoiding unnecessary stress. Holding on to grudges or past hurts can be a heavy burden. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone the wrongdoing or forget what happened. It simply means that you choose to release the hold that anger or resentment has on you. It's a conscious decision to let go of the past and stop allowing it to dictate how you feel in the present. By forgiving, you free yourself from the emotional weight of the situation and regain control over your peace of mind. It's important to recognize that forgiveness is a process, not an instantaneous shift. It might take time to heal and come to terms with what happened, but the key is that you don't have to carry that burden indefinitely. Holding on to anger keeps you tethered to the past, but when you choose forgiveness, you can move forward with a lighter heart. Moreover, forgiveness is not always for the other person, it's for you. When you let go of resentment, you create space for emotional growth and healing. You stop letting external circumstances dictate your internal world, and in doing so, you reclaim your peace. By practicing forgiveness, you make it easier to stay centered and focused on the present, free from the weight of past grievances. Maintaining inner peace by controlling your thoughts, not emotions, is one of the most empowering practices you can adopt. Emotions are natural and inevitable, but how you interpret and react to those emotions is where your power lies. Our thoughts shape how we experience the world, and by mastering the way we think, we can influence how we feel and respond to situations. When a challenging situation arises, it's easy for our minds to spiral into negative thinking, focusing on worst-case scenarios, personal injustices, or what could have been done differently. These thoughts fuel negative emotions like anger, frustration, or anxiety. But the key to maintaining peace is recognizing that we can control the narrative in our minds. We don't have to let our thoughts run wild or dwell on what's out of our control. By becoming more mindful of our thoughts, we can reframe them in ways that serve our peace rather than disrupt it. For example, instead of thinking, this person is deliberately trying to make me angry, we can choose to think, maybe this person is having a tough day and their behavior has nothing to do with me. This simple shift in perspective helps neutralize negative emotions before they escalate. The more we practice controlling our thoughts, the more automatic this process becomes. Over time, we begin to recognize the thought patterns that trigger negative emotions, and we can consciously choose to redirect them. The goal isn't to suppress emotions, but to cultivate a mindset that helps you respond thoughtfully and calmly, regardless of external circumstances. By mastering your thoughts, you unlock the ability to maintain your inner peace no matter what happens around you. In conclusion, the key to never getting angry or bothered by anyone lies in how we choose to respond to the world around us. It's about understanding that we have control over our own reactions, regardless of what others do or say. By focusing on our values, pausing before reacting, and shifting our perspective to understand others, we begin to reclaim our emotional power. Practicing self-awareness, empathy, and forgiveness allows us to navigate challenges with grace, and ultimately, controlling our thoughts rather than our emotions gives us the freedom to stay grounded and at peace. Remember, no one can steal your peace unless you let them. And when you do, you'll discover that nothing and no one has the power to shake your sense of peace ever again.